Please join me in thanking the musicians, the singers, the makers of this video, of all of our videos today, of all of our videos which bring us so much joy during this time that can be so difficult, so isolating. And yes, Anne Green, that was our sanctuary. It brought tears to my eyes and probably to others' eyes as well. All right. Who knows what this is? Raise your hand if you have ridden in one. Raise your hand if you have seen one in the movies or know what it is. Anne Green is correct. It is a tuk-tuk in the text chat. It's also called an auto rickshaw. And I got a little one when I came home from my last trip from India, partly because he said, trying to minimize his screen seamlessly and without anyone noticing. Partly because I made a friend when I was in India, a young man named Deepak Sayal. He started out as my tuk-tuk driver, but ended up becoming pretty quickly my Facebook friend and person I would see every day. My colleague and I were visiting India to do work to stop male violence against women. And we really started getting to look forward to the time that we would have with Deepak and with his uncle sometimes in their tuk-tuk. He was a very gentle young man. There was one day we had a day off and he and his uncle suggested a park that we visited. So we walked around the park, took photos with each other. Once I returned home, I kept in touch via Facebook. And almost a year later, to my horror, I read that he had developed gangrene. I saw pictures of him, pictures of his wife and his siblings, Deepak in the hospital, Deepak with bandages over his hands and feet. A few weeks ago, many of us saw Tess George's presentation about her visit to the border of Texas and Mexico. We saw the pictures of refugee women, children, and men fleeing violence in Central America, waiting for a chance to cross into the United States and start a new life, free from violence. We followed Tess as she visited the refugee camp in Mexico, where families lived in tents stacked right next to each other. And we laughed with her as she drew pictures with the children that she met there. We cried with her as she described the effects of our government's policies on these same children that she drew pictures with. My sermon today is about reconnecting to our world. And some of you have given me some feedback that it's hard enough to survive right now, that you have no bandwidth left to do more work. You compare the sermon to a coach who is pushing his athletes beyond their current ability. You realize the coach's instructions are good ones. You're just not there yet. I understand. I'm exhausted myself. Lately, I need a nap by 11 a.m. That's soon, isn't it? I might take one when we're done. But I have good news. We are already connected to the world. We have already made a difference. A few weeks ago, in the Wonderbox story, I played the role of a lonely island, and young Charlotte, playing the part of the moon, drew back the waters to show me that I was not alone, that I had been connected the whole time. You saw Marissa smiling in that video earlier in the service. Did that look like hard work? Yet it made a difference. Sometimes our smallest actions can reach the corners of the globe, just like Frank's ripples when he dropped that pebble into the water. Our principles tell of the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. And every week we say that the mystery is that we are all connected, even when we feel apart. In his 1963 letter from a Birmingham jail, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. put it like this: "We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny." He said that right after he said the immortal words, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Now, when Tess sees news stories about immigration, about the border, she probably thinks of those children she drew pictures with in the camp. When I saw the fundraising request from Deepak from his family about his medical bills, it was personal. Today, watching the news of the cyclone that hit West Bengal and Bangladesh, I think of my friends who live there. I write to them, see how they're doing, how their families are. The world is getting smaller and smaller, and you don't have to have traveled to be connected or to be affected. Do you remember the story of the Italians singing to each other across the alleyway? They couldn't go out of the house. They were socially distancing. So they opened up their windows, started singing the same opera. Raise your hand if you remember that story. Keep your hands up. If hearing that singing and hearing that music made a difference for you. Now raise your hand if you were moved by the story of people in northern India seeing the Himalayas for the first time in their lives because the pollution had cleared up. Raise your hand if you saw the story of the California tulip farmers who were donating their extra flowers to elderly town residents. Raise your hand if you were moved by the members of our choir, blocked from being together in person, singing in harmony, assisted by technology. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. We are all connected, even if we feel apart. Eileen read for our chalice lighting the words from Sarah Manker Sale, who said that we know that we're not alone unless we create solitude for ourselves. And even then, community awaits us. So now that I know Deepak and I know his need for support, what must I do? Now that we know the children from Central America that Tess made drawings with, what must we do? Violence against Asian Americans is on the increase, fueled by racism that is both historically consistent and currently reinforced by our own country's leadership. What must we do? The Washington Post reports that the coronavirus is infecting Black and Native Americans at a disproportionate rate. Racial disparities in healthcare access are quickly becoming fatal. A lack of access to personal protection equipment can endanger families and communities. What must we do? Dolores Huerta, the co-founder of the United Farm Workers Movement, had her 90th birthday last month. On the same day, NPR reported that the federal government wanted to lower farm worker pay in order to provide relief to agriculture industry. What must we do? And Ahmaud Arbery was jogging in his South Georgia neighborhood. Two white men, mistaking him for a burglary suspect, followed him in their truck and killed him. We are connected to Ahmaud Arbery. We are connected to Breonna Taylor, to Tamir Rice, to Trayvon Martin. What must we do? When I read those words, when I wrote those words, I felt an ache in my heart. I'm feeling it again now, saying them. I feel daunted. I feel tired. But I do not feel alone. It is my honor to be a part of this denomination and this movement for social justice. This movement that crosses race, class, that crosses sexual orientation, age, religion, even time. I am reassured by Dr. King's words from 1963. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny, because we are connected to the children Tess George met, to California farm workers, to Deepak Sayal, to Ahmaud Arbery. Yes, we need to take breaks when we're exhausted. Yes, we need to prioritize self-care, but we also must act, even in a small way, to try to make a difference for everyone we are connected to. Some are acting today at 1 o'clock, driving your cars to the rolling rally to free immigrant detainees. Some are donating to Deepak's medical bills. Some are helping the United Way distribute masks every day on Main Street in Nashua and in the mall. Sherry is putting up the links to those 3 things that you can do. And some of us are still struggling to answer the question, what must we do? Only you can answer that. But you don't have to be alone when you're answering it, when you're thinking about it. So let us look deep in our hearts and remember, the mystery is we are all connected, even when we feel apart. Let us remember that we're connected to each other, to Ahmaud Arbery, to those Italian singers, to Deepak Sayal, California farm workers, California tulip growers. Let us remember that we are connected to the children we met through Tess George and to my friends in West Bengal and Bangladesh. Let us remember that we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Let us remember that even in the midst of a COVID pandemic, we are blessed with a wonderful world. What must we do? Amen, and blessed be.